G'day, it's fugitive Australian journalist Shane Dowling from the website kangaroocourtofaustralia.com. Now, former judge Walter Sofronoff, who's been in hiding for the last month or so, has leaked some legal letters and correspondence between himself and the ACT government in relation to his criminal offence of leaking the ACT inquiry report to two journalists. In fact, he only leaked it to one, Jeanette Albertson, then he leaked it to another one, ABC, to cover his rear end. And we'll have a look at some of the reports of Walter Sofronoff and his leaking of letters yesterday, the 31st of August 2023. And then we'll actually have a look at the law, because in the letters he's leaked, he comes up with some dribbly defence, a scandalous defence, and it's actually batshit crazy. It's just not believable. But he's probably leaked those letters for two reasons. One, because Shane Drumgold, the former ACT Director of Public Prosecutions, has instituted proceedings against the ACT government in relation to Walter Sofronoff's report, which means Walter Sofronoff will probably have to give evidence at that court case. So by leaking the legal letters, he's getting some sort of defence out there, and he knows News Corp, who are his co-conspirators in the criminal offence, Jeanette Albertson and Samantha Maiden, etc. They'll run a defence for him. They'll say, oh, look, he's got a defence, he's published it, when the reality is it's just a batshit crazy non-defence. But let's have a look at some of the reporting from yesterday. Now, Walter Sofronoff, he headed up the ACT inquiry, was into police corruption, the police cover-up of the alleged rape of Brittany Higgins by Bruce Lerman. They tried to twist it. Shane Drumgold was the whistleblower, and as per usual, they go after the whistleblower, and that's what Walter Sofronoff did in his final report. Apparently, the police did no wrong, even though they were leaking like sieves to the media in relation to trying to undermine Brittany Higgins and trying to defend Bruce Lerman. They were leaking to the Jeanette Albertson and Samantha Maiden, etc. But apparently, they did no wrong, and it was all Shane Drumgold's fault, the whistleblower's fault, as per usual. And the reason Walter Sofronoff leaked the final report to Jeanette Albertson, so she could frame the reporting on it, and she did. She went after Shane Drumgold. Oh, look what it says in the final report, and all other media jumped on board because they didn't have a copy of the final report, when the big story was actually the fact that Bruce Lerman should have been charged. Bruce Lerman was claiming he shouldn't have been charged for the alleged rape. It was all Shane Drumgold's fault, but the inquiry had to find, and they did find, that he should have been charged. And the reason the inquiry had to find that, because no one challenged it. The police didn't challenge it. Bruce Lerman's barrister didn't even challenge it at the inquiry. So when Walter Sofronoff leaked it to the Jeanette Albertson, the Australian, he knew exactly what was happening. She was going to start leaking stories on it and frame the reporting by the other media, which is what happened, because Channel 10, Channel 9 jumped on board. Oh, look, it's all Shane Drumgold's fault. But anyhow, let's have a look at some of the reporting from yesterday, the 31st of August. Now, News Corp have reported a headline, baffling former judge Walter Sofronoff hits back at criticism of Bruce Lerman inquiry. The head of an independent inquiry has previously confirmed in writing that he provided an embargoed copy of the final report to two media outlets, including one who received it before he provided it to the ACT government. Now, this article is written by Samantha Maiden. What she doesn't say is that the media outlet who received it first, before the government, was Jeanette Albertson, her colleague at News Corp. Now, the article goes on to say, Mr. Sofronoff writes that although he provided an embargoed copy to two journalists, the Australian Jeanette Albertson later contacted him to reveal she had another copy from another source and was at liberty to publish it. Miss Albertson informed me by telephone that she had obtained a copy of my report from another source and that she regarded herself as being at liberty to write about its contents. I have no reason to believe that she was lying to me, Walter Sofronoff wrote. And he goes on to say, I have not had my trust betrayed, nor have I had any reason to be disappointed. The outcome of this process of professional engagement with journalists has been that, on the whole, stories about the inquiry have been on point and informative. In other words, they've been attacking Shane Drumgold. The copies were given to Jeanette Albertson and to Mr. Zwier on Sunday the 31st of July 2022. Mr. Zwier, I'm not too sure if I pronounced it right, is Brittany Higgins' lawyer. The copy was given to the ABC's Miss Elizabeth Byrne yesterday, which must have been somewhere around the 1st or 2nd of August, I suppose. Now, it looks like that's a lie because he's saying he gave it to Jeanette Albright on Sunday the 31st of July. Well, that was the day before he gave it to the government. Now, another report on news.com yesterday on the 31st of August is titled Walter Sofronoff denies breaking law on Lerman inquiry report. And it's by Ali Green. Now, she says Walter Sofronoff KC admitted to regularly briefing journalists during the course of the inquiry into handing his final report to two outlets weeks ahead of its formal release, after the details of findings were aired in the media. So Walter Sofronoff has published a letter, or given it to select journalists, in relation to his communication with the ACT government when they complained about him leaking the report to the media, and he's told them he's given it to Jeanette Albright on the 31st of July 2022. But Ellie Green, another News Corp journalist, says Walter Sofronoff admitted to giving it to two outlets weeks before its formal release. Now, yesterday on the 31st of August, the Australian, which is where Jeanette Albright works, ran with the title Sofronoff hits back at Barr's unethical claims. Well, he doesn't hit back. He published documents, letters, communication between himself and the ACT inquiry in relation to his leaking of the report, and it's full of lies, bullshit legal defences. So to say he's hitting back is a joke. Now, the Sydney Morning Herald has published an article, and it's titled Sofronoff demands ACT Chief Minister retract criticisms of inquiry leaks. Well, of course he's not going to. If the ACT Chief Minister retracts the criticisms, he needs to resign on the spot. And the SMH says Sofronoff said he had provided the report in advance to ABC journalist Elizabeth Byrne and Australian journalist Jeanette Albright on the basis that they did not publish it before the government released the report, and so they would be in a position to swiftly and promptly write and broadcast stories that have as their foundation a true appreciation of the result of the work of the Commission. What bullshit! What bullshit! He'd only given it to Jeanette Albright, and he's a compulsive liar, Sofronoff is. And he gave it to Elizabeth Byrne a day after, I think, or the day before he gave it to the government, just to cover his ass. And Sofronoff goes on to say, I furnished those copies under my authority as chair of the inquiry, Sofronoff said, pointing to section 13 and 18 of the Act, which he argued granted him the authority to do so. Well, that's bullshit, and we'll have a look at section 13 and 18 in a minute. Now, the ABC reported yesterday, 31st of August, Walter Sofronoff denies breaking the law by leaking Bruce Lerman inquiry report to journalists before the government release. And it says, on Thursday, Mr Sofronoff released a letter to his lawyers sent to the ACT Chief Minister, Andrew Barr, and ACT Attorney General Shane Rattenbury a fortnight ago. In the letter, his lawyers argue that there was no breach of the law because the definition of documents in the relevant section of the Act did not include the final report. Well, that's bullshit too. Mr Sofronoff's lawyers also said the Act contained no prohibition against the provision of a copy of the report on a confidential basis. Well, that's bullshit too. Now, Walter Sofronoff was saying Section 13 and 18 gave him the authority to leak the report. Well, let's have a look at Section 13 and 18. And 18 is just total dribble. And it's Section 17 that he needs to address, where he's leaked the report, where he's committed an offence, which is punishable by up to 6 months jail. But he hasn't addressed Section 17. He just said he's got the authority under Section 13 and 18, which he doesn't. Let's have a look at Section 13 and 18. Now, Section 13 says conduct. Except as otherwise provided by this Act, an inquiry must be conducted in such a manner as the board determines. So the board's in effect got liberty to do whatever they need to in a manner which they determine, but except as otherwise provided by this Act. So they can't override what the Act says. For example, Section 17, they can't override it. So in effect it says an inquiry must be conducted in such a manner as the board determines, except as otherwise provided by this Act, which is Section 17, which is a whole heap of different sections, but in Section 17 he's breached, which is punishable by up to 6 months jail. Now, he also refers to Section 18 as somehow defending his conduct, and it says procedure, Section 18, conducting an inquiry board must comply with the rules of natural justice. Well, they've breached that in the context that they've leaked the report, and Shane Drumgold is arguing he's been denied natural justice and he hasn't been given an opportunity to respond. Now, Section B is not bound by the rules of evidence, but may inform itself of anything in the way it considers appropriate. Well, that's no relevance to him leaking the report. Section C may do whatever it considers necessary or convenient to be for the fair and prompt conduct of the inquiry. Well, that's a prompt conduct of the inquiry. It's got nothing to do with leaking the report. So for Walter Sofronoff to be quoting Section 13 and Section 18, total bullshit. But the reason he's done it is so News Corp, who is co-conspirators in this, Jeanette Albertson and Samantha Maiden, they can start writing stories. Oh, yeah, he's got to defend Section 13 and Section 18. Well, the public wouldn't know what the hell they are. They'll be saying that on Sky News. Yeah, he's got to defend Section 13 and 18. He's sweet. And the reality is, if you go and read them, they don't defend him at all. It's bullshit. It's batshit crazy defence. Now let's have a look at Section 17, which Sofronoff breached, and is punishable up to 6 months jail. It's very, very clear. It's Inquiries Act, Section 17, non-disclosure of information by members, etc. A person who is or has been a member of the staff of the board, or a lawyer assisting a board must not, either directly or indirectly, except in the exercise of the function under this Act, make a record of, or divulge, or communicate to any person any information acquired by the first mentioned person by virtue of that person's office or employment under or for this Act, or B, make use of any such information, or C, produce to any person or permit any person to have access to a document provided for this Act. Maximum penalty, 50 penalty units, or imprisonment for 6 months, or both. Now, that's what Walter Sofronoff is in effect arguing he didn't breach. Well, he clearly has breached it. And if he genuinely didn't believe he had breached it, he wouldn't be running batshit crazy arguments saying he's protected under Section 13 and Section 18 of the Act. And even if he was, why would he leak it to Jeanette Albertson? Everyone knows, he would have known, that she is the #1 attack dog News Corp are using to attack Brittany Higgins and defend Bruce Luhrmann. She is the last so-called journalist. She's not a journalist. She's a fraudster, a conwoman, a propagandist for Rupert Murdoch, to attack Brittany Higgins and defend Bruce Luhrmann, to protect the Liberal Party, Scott Morrison, the Liberal Party, and numerous ministers who covered up the alleged rape back in 2019. That's who they're ultimately protecting. And Walter Sofronoff knew that. If he genuinely leaked it for better reporting, he would have leaked it to 5 or 10 journalists. But he only leaked it to 1, not 2. Don't get suckered in by that 2 routine. He went to Jeanette Albertson first, who by all accounts also leaked it to Samantha Maiden. So it might have went to Samantha Maiden first, we don't know. But the Shane Drumgold hearing is set down for September 14th. That it's only going to be a directions hearing, but we'll get a lot of information out of there, because we'll probably find out who he's going to subpoena, who's going to call as witnesses. Is he going to subpoena documents from people, phone records? And that would have been a major motivator for Walter Sofronoff to leak the communication between himself and the ACT government, to go on the front foot to some degree, because he's been in hiding. I've been publishing those tweets every day or two. Where's Wally? 20 days, 25 days in hiding. But he still wouldn't affront the media. He just leaked his lawyer's letter to the government and their correspondence back, etc. He still won't front the media and answer questions, old Wally. He's still in hiding. But by leaking those documents, at least he's getting on the front foot to some degree. He's allowing Samantha Maiden and the Australian to run bullshit headlines. Oh, he's fired back and he's demanding an apology. What bullshit. He's in hiding still. Anyhow, this matter, and with it's all of associated court cases, defamation cases, Linda Reynolds and Bruce Luhrmann, etc., is going to be one of the biggest corruption scandals the country's ever seen, because it's still got a good 12 or 18 months to go, maybe even 2 or 3 years to go before those court cases are finalised. So I'll keep on following up. And if you visit my website, Kangaroo Court of Australia, you'll be able to see a lot of articles I've written on this matter, or you visit my YouTube channel, you'll see a lot of videos I've done on this matter. And Kangaroo Court of Australia is 100% crowdfunded from viewers like yourself, so please support my Patreon account. You can donate any amount, $3, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30, $40, $50 a month, whatever suits your budget. It all helps out in a big way. And the link for the Patreon account will be below this video on YouTube and also on my website. And please share this video on Facebook and Twitter, etc. Thank you for your time and have a good day.